Once again, flashing lights. This game has flashing lights, so if you're sensitive to that, don't watch. Castlevania was one of the most iconic NES platformers of its time. Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest was, not. If you've watched the review I did of it, you'd know I kind of just found it a really easy, boring, just overall really disappointing sequel, although it had some pretty cool concepts. Despite that, we got one more sequel for the NES, Castlevania 3. Now, I don't know anything about this game's development. It's the only one of the NES games to have no development section on Wikipedia, so I don't know why, but Akamatsu reverted to the classic linear gameplay, and thank God he did, because Castlevania 3 is really fucking good. So to start, I want to know that much like the other two games, this has some differences between the American and Japanese versions. Now, surprisingly, Castlevania 3 was actually not released on the Famicom Disk System in Japan. Instead, it got a normalized cartridge. Except they actually had a special VCR6 coprocessor chip, and basically what it did was add some extra sound channels so that the game sounds nicer and more complex. I barely understood most of that sentence. When the game got localized in America though, the NES wasn't compatible with this sound chip, so it didn't get the extra sound channels, which means the American version sounds like this. And the Japanese version sounds like this. Also, the American version is harder for no damn reason. I didn't want to deal with that, so I decided to use a translated ROM of the Japanese version. So, say hi to the RetroArch UI. Okay, now I can actually start talking about the video game I'm supposed to be talking about. So, starting at the title screen, the film reels are back! Holy peak! And also we get, like, a proper story explanation in the game itself, instead of just being in the manual. The story is, many years before Castlevania 1, an evil man named Vlad Tepes, or, you know, Dracula, revives some dark gods to terrorize the land. The church gets the help of the exiled Belmont clan, hiring Trevor Belmont to kill the funny guy in the castle. It's not as interesting as Castlevania 2's premise, but the plot isn't super important in these games yet. And I like that it serves as an origin story for the series, even if it isn't the origin story for the series anymore. So before we start our first level, we get a name entry screen like Castlevania 2, and I name myself. After that, we open on Trevor praying. And we're off. So gameplay wise, Castlevania 3 basically goes back to Castlevania 1's mechanics. Thank God. Not much has actually changed from 1, the core gameplay is basically the same. Same goes for the level design too, it's basically got the same kind of philosophy as Castlevania 1, and it's about as polished as it was too. Same goes for the music and graphics too. I'm not going to go for another tangent about how these games have impressive graphics for the NES, I think you get it. Although I do want to mention, they managed to fix that weird story animation from Castlevania 1. I will point out the music though. Beginning is a great song. But yeah, that's most of the main gameplay stuff out of the way, so continuing on with the stage. We go through this church, and then reach a graveyard with our first boss, Skeleton Man. We kill him, and proceed onward to a branching path. You see, Castlevania 3's main big gimmick is that you can choose different paths on any playthrough, and thus you go through different levels. It's a really smart idea, and it really helps with the game's replay value, although it means I can't really review all the levels in a single playthrough. But anyways, I go up into the clock tower. It's a pretty fun vertical level, and it also has these weirdly well animated gears. Like, NES games couldn't do built-in sprite rotation, and typically games just flipped sprites or had like only 4 frames of animation to display something spinning. But this gear turns like super smoothly, which means the sprite artist drew a separate sprite for each time this thing turned. Why did you guys torture yourselves? At the top of the tower, we fight our second boss, this goblin thingy. And then when we defeat it, it turns into this dude. His name's Grant, and he decides to tag along with us as we get another one of Castlevania 3's main gimmicks, multiple playable characters. There's 3 of them, and Grant was the first one I found. What he can do is throw knives, or just stab in the American version because, I don't know. And more importantly, you can control his jump arc. Oh my god! I don't think I need to tell you how useful this is with the levels. Genuinely, it makes it so I just kind of play as Grant for a while without ever switching back to Trevor. Oh, and he can also crawl up walls like Spa Man. Well, we leave the clock tower, go through these woods and a swamp, kill a giant bat, and end up in these caves. The whole gimmick here is that you got this like acid stuff that melts blocks, and you either go to avoid it quick enough or wait for it to melt a path for you. It's a hit or miss mechanic. I feel like the waiting is a bit obnoxious, honestly, but it helps if the stage isn't too hard, so you won't have to repeat it too much. There's also these enemies that cry bloody tears. Anyways, we can holy fuck, is Dracula, kill. Oh, so that's not Dracula, that's his son Alucard. He decides to join us, and thus Grant leaves, and I exchange him for Alucard, which was a horrible decision because Alucard sucks. His attacks don't do shit, and he literally has no advantages over Trevor besides turning into a bat to skip platforming sections, which is a limited ability anyways. But I continue on. At first I tried beating this like aquatic palace stage, but it was too hard. But I want to make note of the music, it's really good. So I took the alternate path, killed another skeleton, and ended up at the bottom of Dracula's castle. This stage is... No. Well, besides the trauma from Castlevania 1's Stage 4, this stage is fine. We even fight Frankenstein just like Stage 4. Thank God Igor isn't here. Okay, so the next stage. This stage kinda sucks. It would have been fine if it was just split into 2 stages, but no. They have you fight the giant bat again, and then it keeps going. And if you game over, you end up at the very start again. It's just too long. At least the, boss is neat. It's a ghost that possesses 3 different bodies. That's neat. After we kill it, we finally enter the castle proper. The next stage is pretty great. We travel through the front end of the castle, and we even get a new rendition of Vampire Killer. At the end, we even fight Dev, whose battle is once again difficult, unlike Castlevania 2, where the battle was, it was the battle was really He's even got a second phase that isn't as hard as the first one, but it's better than Castlevania 2! We continue onward to the next stage, which is also pretty good until the end. They bring in the crows from Castlevania 1, but like, they're super annoying now. They basically swoop at you in an arc, which makes them really annoying and hard to hit. Unlike Castlevania 1, where they flew at you in a straight line. Unfortunately, this game is kind of the basis for the rest of the series and how the crows work. But after that, we fight Trevor Belmont 2! He's a little like me in that he's a little fucking stupid. After that, we move into the clock tower with this really great and climactic music. Just like in Castlevania 1, we reach Dracula's fight after the clock tower. Although, unlike Castlevania 1, Dracula isn't counted as a separate stage, so you get sent back to the clock tower. Unless you use save states like I did. Dracula's fight consists of him being a wizard, a horrifying abomination, and then a bird. Honestly, past the first phase, he isn't very hard. You know, if I didn't fight him with only one hit point, but eventually, he dies and the castle crumbles. The Belmonts become legend, and each of the partners has a different ending. Grant starts rebuilding the destroyed cities, Alucard reflects on his future, and Sypha is the third partner you can find. I didn't find her, but I gave her a test run with a cheat. Not as good as Grant, but better than Alucard. Oh, right, it's technically a spoiler that Sypha is a woman. Sypha is a woman. So in her ending, she and Trevor got together. So, that was Castlevania 3. God, this game is such a breath of fresh air after the disappointment of 2. It's challenging, it's got great replayability, and generally pretty good level design. Now, between this game and 1, I think I prefer Castlevania 1, just because it's shorter. But I've also played that one twice, and I just beat this one for the first time, so my opinion may change. I don't know. And it looks like the good games don't stop here, because the next game after this is Super Castlevania 4, which used to be considered, like, one of the best games of all time. But I'm going to take a little break from Castlevania retrospective. Next up, I'm probably going to be talking about a different vampire game. A wink, nudge, nudge.